Sonic Superstars boss fights are... Okay, let me make it clear from the beginning. Sonic Superstars isn't terrible. If you enjoyed it, that's great. My personal feelings, I was kind of disappointed. But this isn't a review for Superstars. This is a small critique on one of its worst flaws, and that is these damn bosses. And the main central problem with these bosses are the way they are designed to slow down your gameplay to a halt. You see, when looking at Sonic Superstars levels, the speed is dependent on the player's skill, usually. If you're really good at the game, you can get through these levels pretty quickly. If you're bad, you're more likely to take a longer time on it. Makes sense, right? To have the speed platformer reward speed for skill. Now what if, instead, we just, didn't? When you arrive into like 90% of the bosses in this game, how quickly you get through it is no longer dependent on how good you are, what risks you're willing to take, and being good with your timing. Nope. Instead, it's a hit and then waiting 10 to 15 seconds for your turn. Why? Now, this may not seem like a lot, but there's two problems to this. One, bosses aren't hard enough to warrant that amount of time. You don't find yourself worried, scared, pondering their next move. There is no challenge between each hit. No, it's a simple Sonic game. So instead, you just casually wait for the next time you can land a hit. It gets boring so incredibly quickly. Turn-based styled combat in a speed platformer just does not work here, especially when they're this easy. And two, that time adds up hard. Yes, for a lot of other games, even outside of Sonic, you would have to wait. But those games have either things to do in between, or don't require a full minute of your time dedicated to a boss that would take 20 seconds if they just let me be good at the game. Please, I'm begging you, let me out! Bosses take a while, but not because you're bad at the game, but because the game wants you to slow down. It wants you to wait your turn. Now, I guess some may like this approach. In fact, I've seen the defense that this is way better than the classic games, where the bosses were basically cannon fodder, a small obstacle. They were nothing in the original games. And to that I say, good. The original game's approach, in my opinion, was way better. The bosses felt like a test of skill that way, not of patience like Superstars' approach. Sonic in the classic games had, of course being Sonic, designed levels around your skill as a player. The better you were, the faster you were. Simple as that. The bosses in those games were a continuation of that formula, not a break from it. If you were skilled and confident in your gameplay, you were more likely to take risks. And with those risks come quicker gameplay, getting through bosses with ease. If you were more casual and less confident in your gameplay, it would lead to less risks and more time on that clock, but higher odds for you as the player to beat the boss, even with the added time. Your personal riskiness, confidence, and skill approach to regular gameplay in the levels were followed up on in the bosses. If you went slow in the levels, you probably went slow in the bosses. If you went fast in the levels, you probably went fast in the bosses. Or didn't, you know? It was your choice / skill that decided. It was perfect. Their easiness is usually criticized because most people got good at these games already. People got used to them, so people think they're bad because they're easy, when the fact that they can be made easy and you can be done with them quick is the best part about them. In Sonic Superstars, if you're slow in the levels, you're slow in the bosses. If you're fast in the levels, you're slow in the bosses. That's the problem. There are no ways to speed it up. Doesn't help that in Superstars, you get these cool new Chaos Emerald powers that range from pretty useless to pretty cool. Do they help speed up the boss fights? Well, no. I mean, they can make it easier to hit the boss, but you're still gonna find yourself waiting. It would be cool if you could speed things up by properly utilizing the Chaos Emerald powers, but that would take too much effort to properly design bosses with the Chaos Emerald powers in mind. It's easier to just slap on invincibility for 8 seconds and call it a day. And when you do use a Chaos Emerald power like Avatar, it makes the waiting even more apparent. I know I've been complaining a lot, but I'll give the bosses one thing, and it's that their ideas and concepts are pretty cool. Except immediately after figuring out what's going on, both concept and moveset wise, and I'm immediately bored. They leave so much time to figure out what's going on, they usually aren't difficult. And after like 15 seconds or even the first hit, it becomes a slow, painful process. A process made even worse on retries or replaythroughs where the boss has already lost its charm. And the music, I don't like the music. That's it. I just don't like it. The last thing I want to mention are the final bosses. Everything I've said thus far applies to them, but twice as much. Love the concepts and ideas presented. Atrocious execution. Now, to be fair, I have not gotten to the Fang final boss fight. Having to replay the trip campaign for it just did not feel worth it. But let's be real. If I got to it, would my opinions change? I've heard nothing but complaints from the boss fight and its length and its insta-kill moves, which by the way, why? It's really long and artificially difficult with its insta-kill stuff. No, I don't think I'd like it. I will say, did do the Eggman boss fight though. Was cool at first, got boring right after realizing what I have to do, how long it would take, and how a simple mistake could cost me a whole 5 to 10 minutes. There's also the true final boss that I just don't care in getting, but again, seeing as how not many people liked it, I'm gonna assume I wouldn't either. And besides, even if I liked the other 2 final bosses that I haven't touched, it's not like it would change anything for me. I still hate the regular bosses presented in the game. At best, they feel boring. At worst, they feel like a waste of time. This isn't exactly a hot take. Most people felt this way when the game first came out. I just still happen to feel this way after checking them out again. If you like the bosses, more power to you, alright? Like genuinely. I personally didn't though. And just hope in the next 2D game, if it ever happens, they find the perfect balance between difficulty and speed. Best example of this balance I can think of from the top of my head is Sonic Mania, where the bosses weren't a complete cakewalk, but also gave you chances to speed through them if you knew what you were doing. I just really hate the hard focus on turn-based attacks and waiting for their turn to end in Superstars. Well, that's the end of my little rant about all I have to say, and yeah, bye.